Welcome to the Warcraft news. Today we have a lot in the show. Player housing has just got a giant progression system. We've all got a lovely reminder that Blizzard really does love feet, and a hell of a lot more. Housing neighborhoods, release dates, and even a bank revamp. I also have a problem. Vercel's V0 and every no-code tool on Earth have empowered a new generation of vibe coders. I've kind of joined them. My editors have actually been making internal tools for our team that previously we'd need an engineer for. There's a problem, a dragon, and that dragon is backend, and my sponsor boot.dev exists to help you slay that dragon. And I'm not even being cheesy. Boot.dev is built by a gamer for fellow gamers, and it fits my weaknesses, right? Coming from C# game dev, mostly in Unity, front-end stuff was kind of like fine and easy to me, honestly, but wiring up databases, dealing with auth, all of that was obscure wizardry. It just isn't really where I had learned. And that's why I swear by boot.dev. Lane and the team have baked the fun of an RPG, so quests, XP, guild style, Discord, that really is an amazing place, all into a curriculum that's laser focused on you getting serious back-end chops. If you've heard of words like data structures, API, auth flows, algorithms, Docker, if you've heard of those and want to know how to use them and build them, well, yeah, this is actually how. Now, you will build and deploy a server client Pokedex, you'll remake asteroids in Pygame, you'll even tackle job search preparation. And that's the thing with Boot. They don't skip the important stuff. So no more tutorial hell, no pricey bootcamp hustle bullshit, just a structured path that turns your energy to make shit into viable engineering talent. And Boot itself keeps on adding features. You've got the searchable spell book and constant content drops like TypeScript, which is absolutely huge. And I also have a hack to save you some money. Boot.dev/Bellular, right? Code Bellular gets you 25% off your first purchase. And if you buy the yearly plan, well, 25% of a bigger number is a bigger number. That'll save you the most. And if you don't gel with it, don't worry, there's a no-risk 30-day money-back guarantee. I'll hit the big story first. If you want a big bar to fill, then, well, get ready to level up your house. This, what you're currently looking at, is an endeavor. Essentially, imagine the Traveler's Log and the Trader Post, but mooshed together and, well, being for houses and being shared with all of your friends and your neighbors. There's going to be public ones that will be assigned automatically, but private groups can pick whichever one is active. And if you're confused in public and private, don't worry, I'll talk about that later. So, the way it works is the active endeavor will change the whole vibe of your neighborhood, and it'll give you a huge list of very, very tasks to complete. And this is to complete collectively, not individually. So essentially, it is a proper old housing co-op. And I hope your guild have got at least a few crafters. If not, start recruiting, start leveling up, because it seems that crafting will be fairly important here. Anyway, finishing these will earn you both favor and currency. Now, the currency is where loads of the rewards and the new housing items are going to come from. As you progress through an endeavor, more NPCs connected to that endeavor's aesthetic will show up, and when they do, they'll sell you housing items for that endeavor's unique currency. So let's just work through an example. Their example is Valsharats, one of the Legion zones, so basically think of the Emerald Nightmare, kind of dark red trees and that sort of thing. Now, they also seem to hint that you can buy items from other neighborhoods. So, as an example, even if your guild is running the Valshara one, but you'd rather have something else, that seems to be okay. You could just go and visit another neighborhood that's running another endeavor. So, for example, you could earn your currency doing Valshara stuff for your guild, but then go to another neighborhood, say with the Lightforged event active, and then you could spend your currency over there, buying their items. But it's not just currency. There's another thing called favor, and this is where it gets a bit more interesting. So, by being in a neighborhood that progresses endeavors and then just working on tasks yourself, you can actually level up your own house. Now, the example on screen has got an increased decor limit as an award for hitting level 7, as well as a whole bunch of varied items that you unlock by basically just leveling up your house. Sadly, though, there is so much here that we just do not know. I mean, having an increased decor limit as a reward might mean we'll start off perhaps more limited than some people expect. Maybe it's done like that for pacing so new players don't get overwhelmed. Maybe it's about allocating server space to super dedicated people who've actually bothered to level up. We don't really know at this stage. And we also don't know if favor and the currency are going to be farmable, or if it will be kind of like the trading post where you'll have to skip certain items each month if you basically want to be like economical with your limited currency. We basically don't know about that now, but this is only a small part of what Blizzard overall revealed about player housing, because they also did a full reveal and a walkthrough of how neighborhoods work. Okay, Blizzard have finally lifted the lid on, I think, the biggest part of housing. basically, where the hell are they? So the Alliance are setting up shop here. This is a place called Founders Point, and it looks like this. Essentially, it's a perfect recreation of that like Elwyn and Duskwood vibe, but of course made with modern assets. And if you're wondering what a future world revamp would look like, I think it's probably fair to say it'll look kind of like this. Very high quality assets, but they are nice and simple, I would say. I think it's a pretty good balance. It's built with plenty of space in mind, designed to look good before anything else. I do quite like it. Now, the Horde's version is the Razorwind Shores, which kind of looks, I mean, a bit less barren than I expected, actually. There is some nature there. I think a lot of us just expected like dry, dusty Durotar, but this feels a little bit more like a Shara to me, which is actually perfect because in the lore, the Horde are currently regrowing Durotar and basically the Barrens to be more habitable and I suppose more productive. Though in both cases, we actually see the zones have got some variety. As an example, over in this corner, it's very dusky, dark lighting for an Alliance house, and for the Horde, we've got an area that looks a little bit more like one of their typical desert regions. In terms of sizing then, each instance will have about 50 plots, and they will all be around the same size. Some are clustered together for a little bit of a suburban neighborhood sort of vibe, and some are way off in the forest for people who prefer peace and quiet. And it's a nice bonus that most of them come with loads of yard space, so again, that'll be way more decoration stuff, and at least that way, you can decorate without having your neighbor's mess crossing into your land, because every plot does actually seem to be decently big. Okay, let's talk about public and private then. So, in a public neighborhood, anyone can buy a house anywhere that they want. The game handles creating, naming, managing all of these things, as well as handling the actual gameplay that is attached to them. And yes, there is actually gameplay, and I'll get to that in a little bit later in the video. Now, if you settle down in one of these, then you'll have that house in that neighborhood until you decide to move, which of course may or may not be because of your neighbors. Now, on that topic, the other kind is a private neighborhood. And there are two types of private neighborhood. So obviously there are guild neighborhoods, but you actually don't need to be in a guild to have privacy. That's because groups of players can make what's called a charter neighborhood together, which basically is kind of like a guild neighborhood, but it's a charter, and you know, whoever's on the charter gets to be in there. Now, sadly, right, Blizzard will not let you have one of these all to yourself. They say this is because of server limitations, so because of that, they will require a certain minimum number, even in a guild, but they've not yet said how many. Whoever owns the guild or charter can name these and control who lives in them, and pass some of those permissions on to other people, basically just like with guild permissions, but the only difference is that the private charters are limited to 50 people, which is one instance, but guilds can actually have multiple instances. So if you've got a really big guild, you can have like 4 different instances, which would support 200 people. And if you want privacy, it also doesn't matter what type you're in, you're basically going to be good. That's because you can set your own permissions for your own yard and for your actual house. So say you want to let anyone into your yard, but only let guildies or BNet friends into your house. You'll be able to do that, or you could just keep your house as your own personal private little goon cave that nobody else can go into. Now, if you leave your guild or fall out with your neighbors, you can just move out. This is kind of neat. So at any time, you can pack up your house, pick another place to live, and unpack your house there, which technically confirms support for a massively requested feature, house loadouts. Now, sadly, Blizzard have not confirmed house loadouts will be a thing. Server limits may mean they don't want to support that right away. I mean, as an example, a house loadout is way more complex than, say, a talent loadout, just thinking of data structures and shit, and we're only allowed a handful of talent loadouts, but the basic idea is you can pack your house away and then immediately bring it somewhere else with it all being intact. That at least opens the door to you having different housing loadouts that you could maybe swap between. Certainly not for launch, but it does seem more possible than not. Anyway, that's everything for now. With that said, let's talk about release dates, bank vaults, and a shitload more. Patch 11.2 drops August 5th, with the season starting a week later on the 12th. All pretty brisk, and really it's just like everyone expected from the PTR dates. Now, one thing that you should note is this launch will actually, I mean, touch wood, be better than most. That's because Mythic Zeros and World Bosses will be enabled in week 1. So basically in week 1, you're not going to go in, play the story for 3 or 4 hours, then have nothing to do. No, there'll actually be progress to make on your characters in week 1, which is fairly huge improvement over where we used to be. Being fair to Blizzard, it's one of many improvements in Season 3. But to just get meta for a little, this actually does mean that Blizzard have basically hit every patch on target. We're almost a calendar year since the War Within launch. The 5th of August makes it 49 weeks since launch. Blizzard aimed for 8 weeks between patches. Patch 11.2 marks the 6th patch since then, and 8 times 6 is 48. That means they're off by just 1 week, and we actually know exactly how. So the Christmas break meant that patch 11.1 took 10 weeks instead of 8. Now, with this patch, Blizzard are actually gaining a week back because it's only been 7 weeks since 11.1.7, or at least whenever 11.2 comes out, it will only have been 7 weeks since the most recent patch. Now, obviously, it's not exactly a case of the more the merrier. Not every patch has been great. Most patches were kind of busted on launch. There's a lot of things where we could just tell they pushed them out because they wanted to ship something. Looking at you, Codex of Chromie and some of those weird features like even Dastardly Duos. But what they have done is, for basically the first time since Legion, actually managed to meet their own deadlines reliably. That is, meet the deadlines reliably, not always ship a reliable build of the game on time. But more importantly, they've done that while also giving us some fairly substantive game updates, right? Things like all the housing stuff we've talked about, the cooldown manager, the upcoming slaughter of add-ons. They've bitten off quite a lot. And before I leave you with this video, there is another big upgrade for the game. It's small, but it is the kind of change that you really will feel every day. So, you know how Blizzard added the Warband Bank update stuff? It's all pretty good. The Warband Bank is really nice, but God, it's really expensive to get like more than 2 tabs. Well, I've got good news for you. Patch 11.2 data mining has unearthed something a little bit juicy. It's an achievement and some strings that indicate Blizzard are going to port the new and improved tab system from the Warband Bank over to the main bank. That would essentially mean no fiddling around with having a whole bunch of little 30-slot bags inside your bank that you then put your items in. When you think about it, it's really weird. Anyway, this could be the biggest upgrade to the bank in basically WoW's history, and WoW had actually worked out, because it suggests 6 tabs, that it could be up to 500 storage slots. That is massively more than we've got right now in-game. It does not look like this is going to be live in patch 11.2, to be very clear. It's just that we've seen these data mine strings. That kind of indicates Blizzard might be working on them, so maybe we will see this perhaps in the next 0.5 patch. Whoever's in charge of quality of life really does need a raise at this stage. But actually, before I go, just one quick thing. Blizzard have done a tease. Okay, we talked about Blizzard teasing a new Void spec for Demon Hunters. That means that everyone's been on the hunt for clues, and we've actually seen a few of them. So whenever Blizzard did their official recording of in-game cinematics, they did it as a Demon Hunter. Now, I'm sure there's no reason for that whatsoever, given the hints. And really, they're so transparent. I actually did a video on it if you want to know all of the hints and how they're basically building the direct lore for making a Void-infused Demon Hunter that's actually part of a character's story in the new patch, so it does seem that we as players will probably get that at some stage. And on the topic of Void, if you want to know where all of that confusing, strange, old god lore went, good news, I've got you covered. Watch this video next.